Hello, this is Dwight Norris of fishingatwork.com. Here I am at the Community Boating Center in Boston, Massachusetts. A nice sunny day, about 80 degrees. It's pretty warm. And I just wanted to spend the day just talking about structure. Like what's available when you go out there, you can go fishing in your local watering hole, and where should you be casting your line? Should you be going straight out and just trying to throw it to the center of the lake or a pond and seeing what's out there, kind of scanning the area? Or should you be concentrating your time, which you have probably a limited amount of, on actual structure, you know, like rocks and logs and branches and shadows and piers and docks and what else is out there, you know, who knows? Maybe even man-made structure that's provided by somebody else who actually owns the area. You never know. Your particular situation, it may be different depending on where you are. Ocean, river, lake, stream, reservoir, pond, etc., etc. You know, every type of water feature there is. So I'll be spending today going over a few things. Hopefully will help you kind of focus your fishing efforts on a place that will actually catch fish. So here we go. So to start off, one of the first things you should, well, maybe not the first, but one of the first things you should think about is what's available on the shoreline. Here in the summer, or anywhere in the summer, the fish will be coasting the shoreline, either having laying their eggs, or looking for bait, or just kind of roaming the area, looking where to feed, or maybe where even to hang out, but mostly to search and maybe pin down some bait that they can catch easily. And one of these spots is right here on the rock shoreline. Why are rocks better? Nobody really knows, but it's a type of structure that's different than a hard rock, a hard dirt bottom or sandy bottom. Rocks actually protrude out, and fish just like hanging around structure of any type. There's nothing around, and you see a single rock, then you'll probably can bet there'll be something around it, because fish don't like to be alone. It's boring. So you look for something to hang around. And a rocky shoreline is pretty great. I was here yesterday fishing, and I threw my little spinner grub out along a rocky shore just like this, and I was able to catch one. He was just roaming. There was nothing around, a few rocks, that's it. I'm like, maybe there'll be something here, maybe it won't be. But there he was. And over here, as you see, is one of the docks. Esplanade, which is that half dome finish looking feature, which kind of looks like the something from Star Wars. I've gotten bites near and under these docks, but it's pretty shallow here. So depending on the actual depth of where you have a dock, you'll see a vast difference in the type of fish that you have under there. It's really shallow, let's say a couple of feet. Fish like the brain and the sunfish, the red eyes, the bluegills, the perch, the crappie, things like that. You can get to like a deeper drop off, which is more likely up here rather than a dock, but it could be a floating dock. You'll probably see more bass rolling under there. They're able to get under the fish and hide in the shadows, while the smaller panfish will be above them, and more particularly the babies might roll through and get a little adventurous. They usually hang very, very close to the shoreline where it's super shallow, where the bigger fish can't get to them. And when they get a little bit bigger, they might come out to those areas, and then the bass will be waiting, and they will just tear them up. And sometimes you even see that happening early in the morning, where it's really the sunlight hits and it really kind of like blinds the fish, and the bass sneak up on them super easy. It's a great feeding time, pretty much for the fish. So yeah, that's one of the things. Another thing, which I didn't even think about till just now, sorry about my finger there, need to stop that. There's other floating structures around here like this thing. Like who would think to cast under these sit-in paddles? It moves out and then on a string, and there's other boats around here that people can sail on, and actually casting near that boat, hopefully not into that line that has the anchor, you might find a random fish just floating under there having a good time, like a bass. I would expect a bass to be under there. I haven't actually tried to throw next to these first row sets of boats, but next time I come here, I'm definitely going to try that. Also, if I get on a kayak, I can go to these islands over here. There are small little islands stripped here where they actually have some stuff. Like over here, they have some of the smaller sailing vessels, and the fish will roam around that as well. And not a lot of people can get to it, so it's kind of an underfished area per se, and they're near to where all the bait fish are here in the shoreline. Sorry if you can't hear me because of the wind. I'll pick my voice up. But if you can get on a small kayak or some kind of inflatable vessel and roam around these islands here, you'll probably have a great time. So let's move on to the next area. Now, another area that's probably only known to cities is these hard concrete walls that line some parts of the river, or maybe even the ocean, maybe even a lake like in Michigan. The fish will sometimes, if it's deep enough, they will kind of float by here and go along the coastline and see if they can corner a fish. And this is one particular place where we have it. It's a little shallow here. You can see right here, you can see the ground, and it doesn't actually trail off very quickly. But during the high tide, as you can see from the water well here, it does come up to right. It can during a storm really come up here. It really only comes up to here most times. So that's just enough for some fish to roam around here. So if you're ample, you can just roam through here and just cast parallel along here real quick, and sometimes you'll pick up a straggler. I think I did that recently. And in the same direction over here, it has the same thing. This is more of an old step that kind of closed off to people because it kind of fell apart. I'm actually standing on a very precarious section that might slide into the river at any moment. But always be careful. So you can cast from here, you can cast along the coastline, and I'm starting to see a different structure over here, which I will talk about in a second. It's very unique, actually. The section I was talking about right here is a section of lily pads, and they're actually floating up next to a above water dock, which is also next to a floating dock. Three very separate types of structures that you can actually fish, put all in one section. I actually got a bite yesterday right up in here. This section here, right where the three connect, and I wanted to stay longer, but I was at the end of my time period and I kind of walked over here. It's a little further from my entry point to a river. So I would suggest focusing in on points like this where multiple structures actually meet, because different types of fish could be congregating here. And with that, you actually have different types of fish. The predators and the prey will all be in one area, and you're able to actually use that to your advantage. You can pull the bait from the prey section into the prey section, and they'll think that's a straggler has moved away, and then from the area, and then they will attack. So you'll have an easier time with a lure because they'll think that it's actually bait just off of reflex. And that's a good thing to do. So focus in on spots like that. Another particular area are bridges, little land bridges that go over small parts of water. This is off a river and a little like sound area. I forgot what they actually call this little strip of water that goes in between the river and this little stream. And it provides cover and as a shadow and visually because it gets darker there, and it's an entrance point from the main river into a sub river per se, and it's a point where the depth change, the types of fish change, the cover changes, and when there's a large change in environment or depth, the fish are usually hanging out there to ambush each other or to hide. either from the fish or the elements. Like you see the strong breeze coming from the river, which probably means it's a strong current as well, and they want to get here and relax. Just like if you're on the river and you hide behind a rock when you're like rafting or something. And this is a lot easier for them. They can use less energy and save it for when they need to get away. But that's a great way to pull your bait. Say pulling your bait from the river end and it's roaming this shoreline here into the bridge, or going the opposite way. That's like will be the normal like swim line for a fish. I've caught in several just like right here, working this section in between. That like transition point has been like a really good spot. Also, it's not much of it here, but sometimes you'll have like reeds and stuff growing right on the edge of the water. And sometimes they protrude out a little bit, so there's like a foot or two of water, and the smaller fish will actually go into those reeds and actually hide while they're being born. I saw further into this section, which is a really good place to hide, is a lot of babies being born, a lot of nest beds from the smaller panfish, and they go right against the shoreline. And as you saw in one of my previous videos, one of them was from a largemouth bass, and it's probably the father bass was roaming in and out of the shoreline just to make sure that nobody is messing with the babies until they can get old enough to take care of themselves. So yeah, these areas are also very good. Now, I'm aware that there's several other types of structure that I haven't really defined, so I'm just trying to show you ones I can physically see in the river. So I'll go over them briefly now, the ones I remember out of them straight out of my head, and try to go into more detail with them on the blog post on the website, fishnetwork.com. So one of them you can actually see from over here is a big large bridge, and they have the pilings going into water all the way to shoreline for each side, and on one particular side is where the ships go through, and that's where it's dredged, and that's probably where the strongest current is. And during slack tide, or sometimes even during any tide, but mostly during slack tide, you'll find that the fish will actually like congregate through there and just start attacking bait fish. They'll corner them, surround them in that large area, but only when it's slack tide. Also, the smaller fish will be more toward the inside of either a side of the river or whatever is passing through, and you can do some jigging there, because they're most likely fish that actually eat on crustaceans, like the tautog around here. They love well, I think they only eat, or almost only eat, crustaceans. They may eat a fish here and there, but their main thing is crabs and whatever else that's available. Another is there's no piers around here, because piers usually go into the ocean for the most part. And when you fish around them, there's not much you can do. You cast your line out and hope that there's a fish there. But the funny thing is, most people don't think about it, is most of the fish are directly below you, hugging very tightly to the piers. And most people don't fish that way most of the time. At least people that are new, they try to cast their line out and see who can get the farthest away. And that's really only something for the fish that come through every now and then, chasing different fish. Like there's kingfishing down in like North Carolina, and there's bluefish that will roam by, striped bass at certain times of the day, most likely depending on tide. And people come in and they move out depending on when this is going to happen. Or some people just, like kingfishing, they catch a bluefish, they cut it into half, or sometimes if it's small enough to keep the whole thing on there, they throw it out there and just sit there all day and wait for the bar to bend over. You know, that's fishy for some people. I'm a little more of an active fisherman. I like to keep things moving, or if not, it's not in the water too long. It's calling me impatient, but I like to catch fish often. Another thing, structure. There's also underwater structure that you can't see, but you need sonar units, or you need information from the local fishing people that know where these things are. They can be in the ocean, they can be in the river, they can be in lakes as well, because people that own lakes will put man-made structure either near the shoreline or deep underwater where they know they're in their haunts. and they can have something to congregate around, and then if they remember where it is, they can drop their lines even during winter, during the ice, and catch fish. Good thing to know. So if you do ice fishing, make sure you figure out these places that are underwater that you can't see, or go over it with your sonar unit in your boat and map the whole lake or the whole river and find out for yourself. And then maybe you can help by sharing that information online or on fishingnetwork.com. If you make a kind of mapping system like that, I may think about that. There's also bars, that not the kind of bar you drink at, but there's sandbars that might happen on the river or really somewhere else. So when the high part of the bar will be where the bait fish will be coming down most of the time. They will be following the river during a tide or something. And then on the lower side where it drops to the deeper water, which is usually where the water is coming to. So if the water is coming this way and then the bar goes up and then goes down deep, the big fish will be over here like waiting for the smaller fish to roll over top of them, and they'll come out there and just snatch them. Definitely during a slack tide where it's very light, or it slows down to an almost complete stop. Never really stops in a river, but it slows down a lot. And oh man, they love that stuff. So that's a good thing too. But you have to know where the sandbars are. You can ask people around you. You're at the fishing shops, on the forums, or you can just search yourself and figure it out yourself. So that's all I really remember off the top of my head. But please, if you want to read more, I'll do some research and I'll add it to the blog post in a specific way. And if you have any other suggestions about things I missed, I can go over them and add them to the blog post, and maybe even make another video about that if I have something of access around here to actually show you that. So that's the end of this video. Please go to YouTube and subscribe. Like this post if you like it, and don't if you don't, or don't say anything. You can leave a comment.
That could not be more accurate.
That was inappropriate to run on both sides of me. Also, go to the website fishingnetwork.com and get your free process checklist for fishing at work, and also see if I do my podcast yet. If I haven't done my podcast yet, tell me, Dwight, make this into a podcast so I can listen to it. You don't have to look at your face. It's cool. I respect that. It's totally fine. So, on that note, get fishing.